A very disturbing story here. I've been talking to Sandy for a while about this case, and I want to introduce you. And Sandy, you're on the left, correct? And on the right of the screen, you are
Jeannie.
Are you Sandy's friend or?
Yes, Sandy's friend.
Okay, so a little background, everybody, and this is a story that's it's happening all over Michigan. Cases like this. There was a murder, a brutal murder back in 1997 of a beautiful young lady. And is it okay if I have the picture up on the screen? She is amazingly beautiful. I mean, you don't have to get into detail, but this is a horrible crime. Something you see like in a nightmare movie or something. She was brutalized.
Yes, she was.
I mean, so 1997, she is murdered, and the person who did the crime, he was caught. They arrested him, and he was sentenced and convicted, right?
Correct.
Okay, and that's him right here on the screen. Is that him?
Tour.
Okay, Tour Williams is his name.
Correct.
So in 1997, or when they convicted him, did he have a jury trial?
Yes.
Okay, so a jury convicted him. He
yes.
was 15 years old.
He was 16 when he was convicted.
Okay, so he was 15 when he committed the crime, about to be 16.
Correct.
And then when he was convicted, he was 16 years old, and he was sentenced as an adult.
Correct.
Okay, to life in prison.
With no parole for the premeditated murder and rape. He's also charged with carjacking, felony firearms, sodomy, torture. I don't know what else they do. But when you say you got all these premeditated and conspiracy, so.
Yeah. So at the time, I mean, you were younger. We were all younger. And Karen, that's your sister that we're talking about.
Correct. Okay. She was 6 years younger than me.
6 years younger than you. And there she is. Okay. So when this happened and he was convicted and sent away to prison, did you think this was all over with?
Yeah, I thought, that the jury did its job and that's what was going to be. We could finally start to, grieve properly, because it was a big deal. I mean, I've had people follow me to stores. I wasn't allowed to go home during the trial because didn't know they retaliate, or anything like that. They didn't know who it was at first. During her funeral, our house was being staked out. We had undercover police at her funeral.
Oh my!
The news media was hiding in the bushes at the cemetery.
See, that's wrong. The media that's wrong. That's another reason why I left. I dealt with people like that. I didn't agree with it. So it was over. When it was over, you were like, okay, he's never going to see the light of day again. He's done. And some people would wish he'd probably get the death penalty. Honestly.
Oh, exactly.
But so he didn't. So years went by, and everything is. Nothing can bring, your sister back, and she's always going to be remembered, but at least you knew he was going to rot where he was. But then that changed at some point. Did you get a call, or your family get a call or something?
It was basically all by letters. We used to get calls when Mike Thomas was still the prosecutor.
Yeah, I remember him.
Him and Marilyn Pruitt were really good when it all happened, like kept us informed, what do I want to say? Explain everything in dummy terms.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got a letter saying that he would be up for resentencing?
Yeah, it was like about the Miller hearing. What that is they consider anybody under the age. I don't know what it was then because they keep raising the age. So I'm going to say 19 and under.
Yeah, I see here in 2012. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled mandatory life sentences for people under 17 is cruel and unusual punishment. So that means Williams had to be resentenced. So he was resentenced. And what was the outcome of that sentence?
Judge Trice upheld his original sentence, life with no parole. 2 life terms with no parole for sure. So
life with no parole. And so you have no issues with the judge. The judge was...
No.
Okay.
He listened very well to everything, and he explained it for a long time before he ruled. Trust me, he had me scared for a minute. I was nervous, thinking, oh my gosh,
Okay.
but he wasn't falling for it. And that's basically what he said. He listened really good and he went into a lot of detail
Her death.
of why, of her death and why he was holding up the sentence.
Okay, so the judge did what he sent him back, and that was 2022. So once again, you probably thought it was over, right?
Correct. It's almost like they keep getting more and more appeals. The criminal has more rights.
But that doesn't make sense because he had already been convicted once, and then again in 2022, the resentencing didn't happen. So was it within the last year or 6 months? How did you find out now that they're going to try to do it again?
Well, the first letter I got was stating I was on July 2nd in 2024.
Okay.
Say that there's going to be another hearing. It just says Miller that is scheduled for the above entitled matter, a Miller hearing on September 18th at 9 a.m. before Judge Trice.
The same judge.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we got a letter after that one. This was dated July 12th of 2024 that we should attend a hearing on August 26th at 1:30 p.m. in front of Judge Trice because they want to put in a motion to deny life without parole sentence. And then also they want to exclude the victim impact testimonies. So I guess anything I said or my parents said is that they're just going to wipe it out. It don't matter. And then they want him to be able to wear civilian clothing and no shackles.
Are your parents still with us?
Yes.
Okay.
My dad just had a liver transplant and my
Amen.
mom's a breast cancer survivor, but she's still frail.
What does this do to them? I mean, I can't imagine.
Oh.
They have to relive it. Like it's ridiculous.
They do have to relive it. It's heartbreaking because I know her dad at his last hearing, he was making spaghetti and Karen wanted tacos and her dad blames himself for not saying, let's just have spaghetti. That's just.
It took a really long time for my dad to ever eat tacos again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally every time this comes up, you're like they're having to force you all to relive it.
Yeah.
So has anyone said why they want to do another resentencing hearing again?
I'm wondering if they changed the guidelines because, like you said, it was 17 and younger in 2022. Now they've upped it to 20 and younger. So are they changing? I haven't looked into that, but I'm just. They change it every year. It seems like so far.
I was told they have their experts that say your brain isn't fully developed. That the part that makes you think reasonably.
Yeah.
But they got their experts and the money to do it, but we don't have our experts or the money to do it.
Where their experts is this taxpayer money?
Oh yeah. See, yeah.
So it's not like he has he doesn't have his own lawyers. This is basically taxpayer money.
They're out of Lansing.
Okay. So I'm looking here.
For it.
Okay.
If you look, Nestle's comes up, and this is kind of off track, but there's times I get on. I'm not very good with my phone.
Yeah.
I find people message me about my sister, and I don't find it till 6 months later somehow, and I feel really bad. I'm like, oh my gosh, Jeannie, look at this. I feel so bad, like not responding. But I think it was somewhere in MLive back in one day. You got people arguing, let them out, no, and other things, right?
Yeah.
But he did something. It shows that in school, so at the same time that he choked a girl and had her off her feet. If it wasn't for the school security guard coming around the corner of their hill, she don't know what would have happened. So it's not like he just decided to,
be violent.
Yeah. Hell, he went to the ball game after it all.
He has a history. And apparently you're not the only family having to deal with this. This is happening, I think, across the state because they're wanting to do this to other individuals.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I want to ask you, because I know someone might be watching this and thinking, don't you believe in rehabilitation and so forth? And I'm not saying that, but I know what someone could say. But from looking at the details of this case, this is horrific what he did.
Right. Well, and I don't think everybody's got a life without parole sentence that's committed these kind of crimes. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought one time we had like mandatory life laws if you got caught selling drugs. You know, that's all something different. But when you've been charged with like capital murder, and conspiracy, carjacking,
Rape,
sodomy, all the top crimes, I don't see how you could think to get out. People will say he spent more in there than he did outside. Well, that's his punishment.
Yeah.
So that's okay. So yeah, you're basically, and a lot of people would agree with that. If you're in life in prison for non-violent crime, or, I mean, the severity of this, like this is extreme.
Yeah, it wasn't an accident.
No. Yeah. And okay, I'm looking here. The Miller hearing, it was 2012. The United States Supreme Court ruled. And then in 2022, the Michigan Supreme Court ruled that no parole life sentence violates the state's ban for people 18 and younger. So you're right, 2022, and that's how that happened. And I don't know if it was Nessel or how it ended up in the Supreme Court, but so yeah, so in 2022, the Michigan State Supreme Court did this, but no one has really explained to you why they're doing this again in August and September. They haven't called you up and said, hey, this is why?
Nope. Not at all. I don't think they know what to say. I mean, the last time we went to a hearing for him, my dad had, I think, just had his liver transplant, wasn't too well, couldn't go as my mom and I. So we talked to the assistant prosecutor. It lasted kind of like 10 minutes. The judge said, I can't remember what it was about. It had something to do with all this. Where the lawyer says what she wants to say, and the assistant prosecutor says what they say, judge, okay, schedule this date or something. You know what I mean? But I asked the prosecutor, and I said, can he get out? And he says he could. And I asked, well, why? And they said, because they got their experts and the money to pay for it. And unfortunately, we don't. And I'm like, what? You're the prosecutor, the assistant prosecutor. And I'm like, what do you mean we don't have the money? But we have the money to spend on him. Our tax dollars are keeping him in prison.
So
I keep him in prison and be looking over my shoulder every day, wondering if I'm going to run into him, if my mom or dad's going to run. What if he walks into our restaurant?
Yeah.
Do we know, like, who is the person that brought this up? Like, was it the prosecutor or a judge in Lansing somewhere?
Lansing, I think it is. I think it's going to be like Nessel, Amos.
So you think it was like it was high up? It was someone.
Yeah. Can I say libtards?
So it wasn't just the local judge, because you're okay with him.
Oh yeah,
yeah, we love Judge Trice.
Wow. So what are you would you like, so you're going to be in the courtroom, and would you like people to help join you there to show your support, obviously?
Absolutely. The more people that come, we'd like to pack that courtroom.
Because a lot of people remember this. If you lived in this area, you remember this case.
Well, I still have people come in my where I work and talk about it or hear some about it and ask me questions.
Women were definitely afraid after that. Lots of women refused to go to a store by themselves after that. They put this community in big fear that night and days after.
Well, yeah, because if you look it up, a lot of people, they wanted the parole board to come and justify why they paroled August early.
Yes.
And they put a lot of houses went up for sale.
Wow. So yeah, people are going to remember this. So
we have a coworker now, it's younger, and she come up to me because she knew we were gonna do this, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I think I remember that." And she went and talked to her dad, and her dad explained the rest because she's younger. And her dad explained it all to her, and she came in today and she's like, "Oh my gosh," but just people that'll say, "Oh, I remember my mom did this. I remember we lived around the corner,
Yeah.
I wouldn't let my daughter go to the store, I'm going to tell you what, I have my boys, ask Jeannie how crazy I am with my sons. I will call them. They'll be out and about, and I just will text them. Because back then we didn't really have the phones,
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'll just be, "You good?" Because I'll be like waiting to hear from them. They're 25 and 22. And I'll be like, "You good?" And I'm everywhere with them. I'm on them like crazy. I caught them because it's just, I think it set a fear in me with what if I don't see my kids again?
Yeah.
I'm just always on them. And I still, to this day, my mom and dad will tell you, if I'm on vacation, my boys and I travel a lot together because I raised my boys alone since they were 3 and 6. And we travel a lot together. But if I don't talk to my mom and dad every single day that we're gone, my dad will have a fit. I have to talk to my mom and dad every day. If not, my dad will be like, "I didn't hear from you." He'll be calling me, I haven't heard from you."
Are they going to let you or your family speak at these coming up court dates?
I think that's what they're trying. Well,
They're trying not to.
This one says for August 26th, one of them has a motion to exclude victim impact testimony. Well, I mean, we're fighting for the victim. I'm sorry, she can't talk, so we're her voice.
I wonder, does that mean exclude the statements from before or not allowing you now to do it?
No, I don't think they should be able to do anyone. I'm going to tell you
according to this letter, it seems like they do not want her or her mom and dad to get up and speak.
That's just, yeah. I mean, well, and we'll decide. Maybe the judge will allow that. So if you could talk to the judge, because I have a lot of people following me, maybe he's watching right now. What would you say to him? I mean, you say he's a good guy.
Oh, he is a very good guy. I don't think we should have to go through this anymore. He resentenced Shaitor to his life no parole for all his capital offenses. I mean, I don't think he's going to be able to be rehabilitated. What kind of job does he have? His brother will say he can work with him. Well, hey, you picked him up after you were with him in the beginning and backed out. What I fear for what's with my mom and dad, their health, even know it. I'm going to be looking behind my shoulders all the time, wondering if he was out. I don't think he's sorry at all. You can say whatever you want when you want to get out. I found Jesus. You can say, I wish he did find Jesus and not in the way he's saying.
Yeah. So it's a fact that this man, he brutally raped or murdered and just did horrible things. And he was convicted. And in 2022, resentenced, but he was given life in prison again. And now again, there's another chance he could get out. And you're just having to deal with this. How are you dealing with it? It's got to be. I'd be just. I couldn't if it was my family.
Well, I get a nervous wreck every time before I go. I was telling Jeannie just for time as I'm going, oh my gosh. And I play it over and over my head, even before a court date. What am I going to say? But I remember this. I remember that. I literally would be like days jotting little things down on a notepad, driving myself insane, going, oh, okay. Remember, he's the one that pushed in a car. He pulled the trigger. It just misfired. He was left alone with her in the car and didn't let her go.
And Dave, they blindfolded her, so she couldn't see where she was.
They showed her off.
They
other
showed
people.
her off. They took her to parties. They gave away all her, like she had rings on. They took her rings off and gave them to this one girl, said, here, she's not going to need these anymore. And a matter of fact, the girl they gave those rings to was the mayor of Saginaw's niece, Gary Lassiter. And he called the detective and said, I have some information on the Karen King case, but you got to promise not to prosecute my niece. So Karen was at her house. She never called the cops, never told anyone.
She was being held still in her vehicle in the driveway.
Yeah. She begged people to help her, and nobody would help her. It's just the saddest thing ever. Like, I don't even know how those people live with themselves.
No. So what do you say to other, because you're not the only, I've heard other families going through this. And you told me earlier, now it's different if every case, I guess, can be looked at differently. If it's a drug offense or if it's two gang members killing each, but this is like a random, beautiful woman that this case is different. What do you say to the state and, Attorney General Nessel and those people? What do you think they need to know?
Well, what I'm worried about is what about, somebody who's a victim to even just the rape, and say that somebody got a life with no parole and they're still alive. Their attackers can get out. They were told they're going to be put away. And then do you want to exclude their testimony? That's part of their healing, to face their attacker in court.
Yeah.
I really think you put in people they got an excuse for everything, for what reason, why they should get out. Bad neighborhood, bad parents. That wasn't his case.
Yeah.
Good neighborhood.
Yeah.
Parents, me in class, GM, store shopper, brothers and sisters.
Oh, wow.
I made mistakes when I was 15, 16. And
murder anybody.
Right. And you know what? Look what I went through in my life. I don't use it for an excuse to go out and murder somebody, kill anything.
And like you said, you are for rehabilitation and so forth. I had a brother that went to prison, and it was all drug use, and it was nothing violent, but he passed away from a drug overdose years later, but he rehabilitated. So you're not saying everyone should just stay in prison. You're talking about these horrible cases.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can look at this case and say, oh yeah, let's give them another trial. I do think there are cases out there that probably need to be looked at. This one, I'm sorry. I just don't understand how you can even give them another shot. I don't get it. I just don't.
Yeah, because I think we heard a lot of that Miller hearing with the Oxford kid, the school shooting with that. So I think
I said, they're in the same prison.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in Lapeer.
So
it's a level 2 prison.
Wow. He was 15 when he did that at Oxford, and that was a big deal, right? They were trying to decide whether he was going to get life they did give him life, right?
Yes. And that's what I said, he deserves that. Nobody's going to say he didn't, but I'm confused on why you want to give Shaitor another one of these trials when you just convicted a 15-year-old to life in prison without parole. Do you see where I'm coming from on that? It's like it's this Miller stuff, but yet you just convicted a 15-year-old to life in prison without parole.
And that's sad. Does it have to be? Would he have had to kill 3 other people and your sister? What was the case?
Well, I don't know if it was just to make it look good at the time, and God forbid the parents of all the kids are going to get a letter next year saying we got to go to court again, or
Yeah, that's a good point, because I didn't think of that. So if this happened to you, let's say 10 years from now, the parents of the victims in the Oxford school shooting, they think that I'm not even going to say his name, but the shooter at the Oxford high school shooter, he got life in prison. 10 years from now, all the parents of the victims may end up getting a letter saying, hey, we're going to resentence him, because that's exactly what happened to you in a way, right?
Yep, right. Or and then we don't want to hear what you have to say. No victim impact statements.
Yeah.
You know, no shackles.
So does Michigan and even other states, do they need to stop going to extremes when it comes to, like, yeah, there's people maybe need to be rehabilitated, but they can't go all in on, they need to, what do they need to do? Take things by case?
Yes. That's what I think.
Well, and I also think if you think somebody's trouble to begin with, I mean, I have to say, get them before they commit murder.
Yeah,
Well,
we just slap them
Offer
on the wrist.
programs before they go to the extreme.
In
You know,
this
people
state,
are so lenient now. I remember when I was in high school, oh, you get in a fight, that teacher grab you by your shirt, throw you against the locker, drag you down the hall. Now it's like, oh, don't touch my child.
Yeah.
But
Well,
then you want to say, well, the schools never did that. Well, I used to be afraid of my teachers.
yeah, same here. The state
Yeah.
of Michigan, also mental health. The state of Michigan is wasting billions of dollars on things, and I mean, people can't even get the help they need in this state.
Exactly. I had school
Wow.
counselors I could always talk to, and yeah, they'll call them school counselors, but they're just saying like, oh, you got to be in this class. Oh, you got to do better. Like my school counselors actually listen and talk. You could go to them with things. Heck, I mean, now you don't even have to tell your parents you're going to go have a sex change and your school won't tell on you, you know?
I just
you're
thought
old enough to make that decision.
Yeah.
I just thought of something. So if the public, even the bad guys, see these type of things happening, does that lessen, like, the courts? Does it make them realize, oh, maybe I can get out one day? Or, I mean, it,
That's
like
what I said.
a 17-year-old does it and they're like, oh, maybe I won't go to prison for life. I mean,
Well, yeah, look what's going on right now everywhere.
I mean, there was a 15-year-old who just murdered a man on Mackinac. What was that? Maybe 3 weeks ago? 15-year-old with a gun. Shoots
so
a guy.
will he get life? And who knows? I don't know.
I'll be keeping an eye on that one.
Okay.
That's, I mean, if you knew you were going to face tougher consequences, you may think twice. If you see this over no bail or no, you know what I mean, or slap on the wrist, that kind of thing. Hey, as long as I do it when I'm under, pretty soon it'll probably be if you're 21 and under, who knows? I mean, it seems like it keeps going. You remember, you can serve in our military, like I said, at 17 and a gun at 18, but you don't know right from wrong. Hello.
Yeah,
you don't know it's wrong to kill somebody, rape somebody. If you won't want it done to you and you think it would hurt you, hurt your family, then you don't do it to other people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, you don't know right from wrong. It's called just common sense. A 4-year-old will learn, don't touch that. It will take one time, maybe twice. You smack that hand or they touch it and it's hot and they'll go, oh, heck no. They remember that.
Wow.
They didn't come. They were a church family in the beginning and now,
Wow.
it's.
So August 26th is on, and every normal people can come in the courtroom. People should know that they're allowed to be there.
They're allowed to be there.
So August 26th, a Monday, that is when they're trying to have some hearing about victim impact and things like that. And then in September, there's the hearing, like the big hearing.
Yes. Let's see what that's gonna be about.
September 8th.
I mean, once I find out for sure in August, because then we'll get to talk to the prosecutor.
Okay.
I will message you and let you know what they actually said it's all going to pertain to.
Okay, let me wrap this up, the recording that I have. So one last word on camera for you is what? I mean, everyone's praying for you. I know I am, and people in the community probably once they see this are. So people, you're just asking people to step up, and you're asking probably for the judge to do the right thing, right?
Right, everybody. Now, believe it or not, you're probably going to hear a lot, but these are people who you vote for that want to let these people out of prison too, but I don't want anybody to have to go through what my family has to keep going through. it's a long time. Like I said, I will never see my sister again. I drive past her twice a day and wave because she's buried just down the road from where we're at.
And now the person who brutally murdered her could be getting out because of a change in the law.
Correct. And I don't want anybody else to have to go through that. Like I said, there's other victims out there, and victims who weren't murdered, but necessarily say raped. And if you let this go, they're just going to make the laws more lenient. They need to stick to tough laws, and maybe people will commit less crime. I'm not falling for you're 15, you don't know better. I mean, it's science. They say the brain's not foot. You know,
you got to be held accountable. I teach my 7-year-old how to be held accountable at an early age. So, I mean,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you for joining me. Thank you so much.
Well, thank
Dave,
you.
thank you. We appreciate you.